Well, today we're going to take a deep dive into what one passionate fan thinks needs to happen for WWE 2K25 to really be worth the purchase. You know,
Absolutely.
they put together like a super detailed wish list of changes.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be breaking down for you guys today.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, right? To like look at this and say, okay, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Is this something that we agree with as well?
Totally. And I mean, this fan, like, they've identified 6 core areas that they think are like super important for 2K25's success. And I think our goal today is to kind of go through each of these points, give you guys a really clear understanding of what they're proposing.
Right.
And maybe even more importantly, like why these changes could actually make the game like so much better overall.
I totally agree, because it's one thing to just kind of go through a list and say, I want this, I want that.
Right.
But like, let's really dive into the why.
Yeah, I got it.
Because I think the why is even more important
sure.
than just the what.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump right into it.
Let's do it.
The first big category here is revamping the game modes.
Okay.
And this fan starts off with a pretty bold suggestion.
Oh.
They actually want them to remove My Rise and Showcase mode.
Wow. Okay.
And their reasoning is that they feel like those modes have just become really repetitive.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you think about like the evolution of story-driven experiences in sports games in general. You know?
Right, like have those modes, have they stayed fresh enough to keep players engaged year after year?
Exactly.
And I think that's a valid point to raise.
Totally. So instead of My Rise and Showcase, this is where it gets interesting. This fan wants them to bring back Create a Story mode.
Oh, interesting. Create a story. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember Create a Story like way back in the day.
Like the old SmackDown versus Raw days.
Yeah, and so this isn't just like a nostalgia thing.
Right.
They're thinking of like a modern take on Create a Story with some really cool upgrades.
Okay, I'm listening.
So like deeper branching storylines within the cutscenes.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can actually make choices that affect how the story plays out.
More player agency. Yeah.
Way more customizable options for your characters, for like the scenarios.
Okay.
And even the ability to upload and share your storylines online with other players.
That's huge.
Can you imagine the community-driven content?
I mean, you could have these amazing storylines that people create.
Yeah, it would just add so much life to the game.
Yeah, you're not just limited to what the developers give you. It's
Right.
like you're becoming a writer. You're becoming a booker yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Crafting your own WWE sagas.
Yeah, with like rivalries, betrayals, unexpected turns.
It'd be
So much potential there. Okay, so speaking of like crafting your own wrestling world, let's talk about Universe mode.
All right, Universe mode.
So for anyone who's maybe newer to the WWE 2K games, this is the mode where you essentially take control of the entire WWE calendar. You're booking the shows, you're managing the rosters.
Yeah, you're the man.
You're developing storylines. And this fan has a whole bunch of improvements to make it feel more like a real, you know, dynamic weekly wrestling show.
Okay, so what are they looking for specifically?
So they want way more cutscenes, like way more varied cutscenes that can happen organically based on different types of rivalries.
Yeah.
For example, so like imagine if you have like a blood feud rivalry.
Right.
The cutscenes would reflect that intensity.
Right, okay.
Versus like a more comedic rivalry.
Oh, I like that.
Right, and they also, and this is a big one.
Yeah.
They want to see rivalries that involve more than just 2 people at a time.
Oh, interesting.
Like 3 or even 4 superstars in a rivalry simultaneously.
Yeah. Okay, so more like the factions and stuff like that.
Exactly, because, you know, in real WWE, storylines are often very complex.
Yeah, you rarely just have 2 people going at it.
Right.
There's usually other people involved.
Exactly. So they want that kind of depth in universe mode.
Okay. I can see that making it feel a lot more realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
So are there any other big changes they're hoping for in universe mode?
Oh, yeah. They also want promo mode to be, like, significantly enhanced.
Okay. What do they have in mind for that?
So they want to be able to have up to 8 superstars in a single promo segment.
Wow, that's a lot of people on the screen at once.
I know, right? Imagine the possibilities.
The chaos.
For, like, huge confrontations.
Right.
And just intricate storyline developments, you know?
Yeah, you could have, like, double crosses and surprise appearances and all sorts of stuff.
Exactly. And then they also want all those little details, like superstars using their specific entrance attire.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Or like their dedicated promo attire.
Right, like make it look authentic.
Champions carrying their title belts during promos.
Right.
You know?
It's all about the presentation.
It's about those visual cues that really add to the believability.
It really does.
And, you know, another small thing, but I know a lot of fans would appreciate it.
What's that?
They want the random attire option to come back.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Remember that?
From the older games.
Yeah, where your superstar could just come out in like a different attire every match.
Yeah, just to add some variety.
Just for fun, for some visual variety, you know?
For sure.
And then they also talk about crowd reaction.
Oh, big crowd reactions, yeah.
Which is such a huge part of the atmosphere in wrestling, right?
They make a huge difference.
Like a hot crowd can make a match so much better.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're calling for more natural
yeah.
and dynamic crowd reactions.
So not just like the same generic cheers and boos all the time.
Right, exactly. Like they want to hear those huge hometown pops.
Oh, yeah.
By wrestlers in their home city.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And they also want the commentary team to be more integrated into everything that's happening.
Okay, so like reacting to the promos and stuff.
Yeah, like reacting to the promos, reflecting the energy of the crowd.
Right.
Especially during big moments in a rivalry.
Yeah, they need to sell the importance of what's happening.
Exactly.
Okay.
I like that.
It's all about making the whole presentation feel more connected and alive.
It's all those little touches that add up to a more immersive experience.
For sure. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about GM mode.
GM mode, right? Yeah.
So if you haven't played GM mode before, this is where you get to step into the shoes of a general manager.
Okay.
You draft your roster, you book the matches, you manage your budget.
You're running the whole show.
Yeah, you're trying to build the most successful brand.
Oh,
you know,
all right.
SmackDown, Raw, NXT, whatever.
Yeah.
And this fan has an interesting suggestion here.
What's that?
They want GM mode to go back to basics.
Okay, so like a simpler, more streamlined approach.
Exactly, like more in line with the classic SmackDown versus Raw games. Yeah, I kind of see where they're coming from there.
Yeah, like sometimes I think when they try to add too much complexity to these modes, it can actually take away from the fun.
I agree. Sometimes simplicity is key.
Right. And so for this back to basics approach to GM mode, they have some specific improvements in mind.
I'm all ears.
First and foremost, they want to be able to play the matches yourself.
Oh, okay. So not just simulating them.
Not just simulating them, actually get in there and control the action.
Right, because that way you can directly influence the outcome of your booking decisions.
Exactly.
If you want someone to win, you can make sure they win.
Right. It adds that extra layer of control and investment.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
They also propose like a GM mode Hall of Fame system.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so like you would get rewarded for your long-term booking success.
Okay.
And the legacies that you build.
Yeah, that's cool. Like a way to track your accomplishments over multiple seasons.
Exactly. And it would add a sense of progression and accomplishment.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, like you're building a dynasty.
Totally. And then for the customization fans out there.
Yeah.
They want create a finisher and create a special move to be brought back into GM mode.
Okay, so even more ways to personalize your roster.
Exactly, like that theme of deeper customization just keeps coming up, you know?
Yeah, it seems like that's something that's really important to a lot of players.
For sure. Yeah. All right, let's move on to something we all care about.
What's that?
The visual presentation of the game.
Okay, the graphics.
So enhancing the graphics, the superstar models.
Right.
Making everything look better.
Yeah.
And this fan is pretty straightforward about this.
Okay.
They say WWE 2K games should just flat out look better every year.
Oh, they're not pulling any punches.
No, they're like, why should we take a step back in terms of graphics?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Right? Like, technology is always improving.
It is.
So the game should reflect that.
So what are some of the specific areas they're hoping to see improvement in?
Okay, so first of all, better face and body scans. To get rid of those, like, outdated models, you know?
Yeah, we've all seen those wrestlers who look like they haven't aged in like 5 years.
Exactly. And then they also want more accurate attire.
Okay.
Especially for wrestlers with like really intricate gear. Like think of Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Or Rey Mysterio.
Right. Lots of detail.
Lots of detail, yeah.
Getting that stuff right is important.
It really adds to the authenticity.
Totally.
And of course they bring up the hair physics.
Oh, the hair physics.
Which has been a problem in wrestling games for a long time.
Yeah, it can be really distracting when the hair is just like stiff and unnatural looking.
Right. It just takes you out of the moment.
It does.
And they also want to see better lighting and skin textures.
Okay.
Because, you know, sometimes the wrestlers can look a little plasticky.
Yeah. They're me.
Right. So they want them to look more realistic.
They're more lifelike.
More lifelike, exactly.
Okay. Those are all good points.
And then they have this really cool idea about incorporating alternate body types.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
So like for wrestlers from different eras.
Okay.
So you could play as like a leaner, earlier version of a superstar.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Versus their more recent physique.
Yeah, like you could have different versions of The Rock.
Exactly.
Or Stone Cold or whoever.
That would be awesome.
It would be so cool to see those visual differences.
Yeah, and it would just add another layer of authenticity and fan service. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so we've talked about the graphics.
Yeah.
What about the roster itself? Are there any specific wrestlers they're hoping to see?
Yeah, so let's dive into the DLC content.
All right, DLC.
And the roster specifically, and this is another area where this fan has some pretty strong opinions.
Okay, lay it on me.
So their main point is that they want the DLC to focus on wrestlers primarily.
Okay.
Now, they understand that there might be some exceptions. Like if you have a non-wrestling celebrity who's actually involved in wrestling like a Bad Bunny or a Logan Paul.
Yeah, those are the exceptions.
Those are the exceptions. But for the most part, they want the DLC to be about the wrestlers.
Makes sense.
Right, because that's what people are buying the game for.
Exactly.
To play as their favorite wrestlers.
Right.
And so they break down the kind of DLC content they want to see into a few categories.
Okay, let's hear it.
First, they want the missing current WWE superstars.
Oh, okay. Like who hasn't made it into the game yet?
Yeah, they specifically mentioned Jade Cargill.
Oh, yeah, she's a big one.
And Carlito.
Carlito, that's a good call.
As examples of recent signings that they want to see in the game.
Yeah, I can see why those would be high on people's wish lists.
Totally.
So what else are they looking for?
Then they want the legends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the classic wrestlers.
Oh, the legends, of course.
They mentioned the Dudley Boys.
Oh, yeah, the Dudley
Demolition and Victoria. Oh, yeah, Victoria. That's a good one.
Just to name a few.
Yeah, there's always a demand for those classic wrestlers.
Absolutely. And then they also want to see more NXT talent featured in the DLC.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like the up-and-coming stars. Yeah, because NXT is like the developmental brand for WWE.
Right.
And they want to see more of those wrestlers get some love in the DLC.
Okay, that's a good way to introduce new players to the roster.
Yeah, and then another cool idea they have is alternate gimmicks and attires.
Oh, I like that one.
So imagine being able to play as like Hollywood Rock.
Yeah.
Or like Ministry of Darkness Undertaker.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Right, different eras.
Different eras, different looks.
So much replay value.
So much replay value. And it's just fun, you know?
Absolutely.
To be able to play as those different versions of the characters.
It's like having a whole new set of wrestlers.
And then another point they make about DLC is they want a more frequent release schedule.
Okay, so instead of waiting like 2 or 3 months between packs?
Yeah, they're suggesting like monthly DLC drops.
Wow, that would be awesome.
Right?
Keep the game feeling fresh all year round.
Keep the game feeling fresh. Keep people engaged.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And then finally, they touch upon a frustration that I think a lot of players feel. What's that?
Which is having to pay extra for wrestlers who seem to already be in the game files.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
You know, where it's like
they're holding back content just to sell it later.
Yeah, that just doesn't feel good.
No, it feels kind of scummy.
So they want to see an end to that practice.
For sure.
All right, so the last big category from this fan's perspective is the value proposition.
Okay, value proposition.
Specifically, the deluxe edition of the game.
All right, the deluxe edition.
So their feeling is that right now the deluxe edition doesn't really justify the extra cost.
Oh.
You're basically getting early access and a few like minor extras.
Yeah, that's not really enough to entice most people.
Right, so they have some ideas on how 2K could make the deluxe edition actually worth the price.
Let's hear it.
So first they want exclusive arenas, like classic SmackDown stages, classic Raw stages.
I'm listening.
Like iconic pay-per-view stages from the past.
Oh man, the nostalgia.
I know, right?
That would be so cool.
People would love to revisit those.
Definitely.
They also want legendary attires.
Okay.
Included in the deluxe edition.
But the legends.
Yeah, like specific attires for The Undertaker, John Cena, Triple H. You know?
Well, like the different eras of those guys.
Exactly. And then bonus create a wrestler parts.
Oh, that's a good one.
More tattoos, more hairstyles, more entrance gear.
More options for customization.
Yeah, because you know customization is king.
It is.
And then they say early access should actually come with meaningful benefits.
Okay, so more than just playing the game a few days early.
Right, like maybe you get the upcoming DLC packs earlier.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Or you get some kind of exclusive currency bonus.
So there's a real incentive to buy the deluxe edition.
Yeah, make it feel like a premium experience.
Literally.
And then this is the most important point.
Okay.
They want no hidden microtransactions.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
If you buy the deluxe edition, you should get full access to all the major content.
Right, no nickel and diming.
No nickel and diming.
Yeah.
You paid the premium price.
You paid for the full experience.
You deserve the full experience.
Couldn't agree more.
So just to kind of sum up this deep dive into one fan's vision for Wwe 2K25.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We talked about a pretty big shakeup of the game modes.
Yeah, with some interesting ideas.
Right, like bringing back creative story mode, making some major upgrades to universe mode, streamlining GM mode.
Right.
We talked about the importance of visual enhancements.
Making sure the wrestlers look good and the game looks good.
Exactly. And having a really good DLC strategy.
Yeah, focusing on wrestlers.
Focusing on wrestlers, releasing content more frequently.
Yeah.
And then making the Deluxe Edition actually worth buying.
Absolutely no microtransactions.
No microtransactions.
Right.
And giving people real value for their money.
That's key.
And, you know, this is just one fan's perspective.
Of course.
But I think it reflects a lot of the things that a lot of WB 2K fans want to see.
Oh, I agree. I've seen a lot of these same sentiments expressed online. People want a game that feels complete and polished and respects their time and money.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's up to the developers to listen to this feedback and to try to deliver a game that truly lives up to the expectations of the fans.
Right. Because the fans are the ones who ultimately decide whether or not a game is successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that brings us to you, the listener.
Okay.
We've talked about game modes, visuals, roster DLC value for your money.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
What single improvement do you think would have the biggest impact on your enjoyment of a wrestling game?
That's a good question to think about.
It's something to ponder, for sure.